You don't need a workshop full of expensive tools to build a subwoofer box. You can make a fantastic basic box with basic tools. I'm going to show you how. In order to keep this as simple as possible, we're going with a sealed box with a pair of subwoofers. I recommend something like these beautiful Kicker Comp Q 10-inch subwoofers. I'll be sure to give you a link so you can check these out for yourself. This is the only specialized tool we're going to use. This is a Craig Rip Cut. If you don't have one, this is absolutely worth spending the money on. I used one for several years before I could save up to afford a table saw. Now, it's been a while since I've used my Rip Cut, and what I like to do with my Rip Cut is I like to leave these two screws and these two pieces here in the exact same position. Then raise these set screws and slide the saw in. Don't know how well you can see it, but there's a slight little indentation here where I've used the jig before. So I'm going to slide it in and line it up with that little indentation, and I should be accurate. You'll need to adjust the saw blade. Start off by moving the guard out of the way and sliding up close to the wood. And then there is an adjustment lever on the back of the saw. Raise that up and then adjust the depth of the blade so that you're just past the depth of your material, and then lock it into place. Before you make the cut, lay down a piece of foam so you don't cut into your work surface. If you don't have a workbench, you can do this on the ground or on some sawhorses. The secret to using this thing is to keep this part here flush up against the edge and don't let it drift. As we go through the video, I'm going to keep a running total of all the tools used in the video, and you'll get some links down below the video or up here above the video so you can check out these tools for yourself. This will make some dust. You can clean that up with a shop vac, or if you're working outside, you can just brush it out of the way and let the wind take care of it. I used a shop vac, so I'm going to count the shop vac in my list of tools. Hopefully you've got a shop vac laying around already. I ran into a little bit of a problem with my next cut. My workpiece started to slide as I was cutting. This is bad news. Let me show you a way to fix that. Unfortunately, it requires another tool. What you can do is you can either clamp your workpiece to your workbench, or you can use some double-sided tape. So I'm going to use some double-sided tape to hold my foam in place and to hold my workpiece to the foam. All right, that is step one. That's the cutting. I want to stop and do a quick summary of the tools we used so far to make sure we have an accurate tool count. Okay, so we used a circular saw attached to a rip cut. We had a tape measure, and because we had a little oopsie, we had to resort to the double-sided tape. That required the use of a knife. We had some foam, and of course over here we have the shop vac. And now I'm going to take a little sandpaper and clean up the oopsies. Because of the way I'm building the enclosure, those oopsies aren't going to have any impact on performance and will have a negligible impact on the appearance of the enclosure. With all your parts cut and everything cleaned up, the next step is very important. That's the dry fit. This is how you verify that your cuts are correct. Don't skip this step. Trust me, when you skip it, that's when you're going to find a mistake and have to restart from the beginning. Take a few seconds to label your parts. Now it's time to cut the circles in the baffle. Baffle, that's just the fancy word for the front of the enclosure. You need 2 holes for your 2 speakers. Grab some type of measuring device. I'm using a speed square here to mark 1 inch away from I'm marking 1 inch from the edge because my material is 3/4 of an inch thick and I want to leave 1/4 of an inch hangover. I'll explain why later. Then use a tape measure to find the middle of the baffle. Grab a straight edge and you're going to scribe a diagonal line from that top middle to the bottom 1 inch mark that you just made, and then do that again so you can find the center of each half of the baffle. I'm actually using one of the pieces that I just cut as my straight edge, so no tool is required. So these Kicker subwoofers come with a template for the cutout. If you have a template, it's just a matter of positioning it on the enclosure and marking out the circle. You can even tape it down so it doesn't move. Well, what if your subwoofer didn't come with a template? What do you do then? You just need 2 screws and some scrap material, or even a pair of thumbtacks and some cardboard. Take the woofer cutout diameter, 9 3/16 of an inch in this case, divide it in half to get the radius. Then take that scrap, drive in 2 screws that are 1 radius apart, stick one of the screws in the middle of your circle and use the second one to score a line to get your circumference. You'll need to grab a large drill bit and put it in your drill to make a starting hole, and then just carefully follow the line that you just made with a jigsaw. Pro tip, most jigsaws have a dial on the side. That dial controls the orbital motion of the jigsaw. The blade moves slightly forward in one setting and just goes up and down in the other setting. You use the orbital setting for a fast cut in a straight line. You turn it all the way off to cut details in tight curves. If you've got a really old jigsaw, it won't have this feature. This jigsaw right here has a little guide on the front. Just line that guide up with your mark. The first time I ever tried this, the result was terrible, but after some practice, I eventually got to the point where I could cut a near perfect circle. Here's a pro tip: even if you don't need the practice, make a test cut on some scrap material anyway, just because the owner's manual says the cutout is 9 3/16 of an inch. That doesn't mean it will be. There's going to be natural variation in the production process. Kicker has some good quality control, so if they say it's going to be 9 3/16 of an inch, I would trust it. But I've had plenty of subwoofers that were a 1/16 oversize or a 1/16 undersize. Or equally likely, you could just write the measurements down wrong or put your screws in the wrong place on your little jig. If you've made a mistake or if the specs are wrong, you want to find out now before you assemble the enclosure. And it just so happens that assembly is your next step. The best method for a beginner that's trying to minimize the tool count is to use glue and screws. This is the same drill and driver set that I used earlier, so no additional tool count. I am, however, using a countersink bit, so let's add that to the list to make sure that we have it. You don't have to use one. An easy hack is to drill the hole, then follow up with a larger bit. This ensures that your screws don't stick out proud of the surface, which you'll be able to feel through the carpet, and you don't want that. Typically, I recommend that you use clamps to hold things together while you work. They're like extra hands. I'm deliberately not using them here to help you keep the tool count down, but I find that I get a better fit and make fewer mistakes when I use clamps. As I mentioned earlier, for this project, I recessed the sides about 1/4 of an inch. You can see that here. This is an old school hack to make it easier to carpet your box. That recess is going to give you an edge to guide your knife around later when you apply the carpet. The other advantage of this is it gives you a little bit more flexibility and freedom when cutting and assembling the parts if things aren't perfectly lined up, or if your saw on your circle jig slips just a little bit when you're cutting, you've got 1/4 inch of wiggle room. Off camera, I grabbed the jigsaw and I cut some triangles to use as bracing. I just took some scrap material and just did a diagonal cut across them. Bracing cuts down on panel resonance and it makes the box stronger. I got a whole video about my philosophy for bracing boxes. I'll put it right up here. With everything assembled, sandpaper is your best friend. If anything on the box is kind of ugly, just sand it until it's not. If you're really patient, you can clean the box up a whole lot and improve the overall look and shape of the box. If you're impatient, well, we're gonna carpet the box, and carpet covers a lot of sins. Right here on this corner, for example, things aren't lining up perfectly. There's nothing wrong structurally, but it might not look good. So sandpaper to the rescue. Now it's time to carpet the box, and the best way to measure the carpet is to actually just use the box to measure it. 4 sides, 1 side, 2 sides, 3 sides, 4 sides. Piece of scrap material for a straight edge, up against the box so it's square to the box. My favorite knife for this kind of thing are these breakaway knives, because you can break them away as they get dull. And this one's gotten dull, so I'm gonna go ahead and break it away. I'm using 3M Super 77, I've used 3M Super 90, I've used Gorilla Glue's version, I've used Loctite's version. I don't really notice a big difference. Shake can before using. Turn nozzle so tip points to dot on can. That might be helpful. Hold can 6 to 8 inches away from surface to be sprayed and apply a uniform coat. Allow adhesive to dry until tacky. I'm gonna take my watch off. I can feel a little tacky residue sticking my arm hairs to my arm, which is a weird sensation. Now we wait. All right, it's been a few minutes. What I like to do is pull the carpet tight, make sure there aren't any wrinkles, and use the weight of the box to adhere to the carpet. I've had really good luck doing it this way. Oh yeah, nice and smooth. Next, I'll spray the baffle, and this will be the bottom. You want the seam either on the back or on the bottom. While I'm working on this, I need to say thank you to all of my patrons over on Patreon. Patrons get behind the scenes content and other perks. $10 and up patrons get their name in the video, and $25 and up patrons like Jonathan, Timothy, Joe, and Bo all get a big shout out in the video. If you enjoy this kind of content, the best way to support it is to head over onto Patreon and sign up today. If you sign up for a whole year at a time, you get a sizable discount. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to pinch these corners just like this. Little dog ear, trim it off. All right, so the box itself is finished. Now it's time to wire the box. I'm going to use these right here for my terminals. I like using a terminal like this better than a terminal cup. It's easier to install because you just have to drill a hole. You don't have to cut a hole. So let's hook these up. It's best practice to grab a center punch and mark out your holes. Since all of the connections, both on the subwoofer and the enclosure, are push terminals, you just need one tool to wire up the enclosure, and that is something like this combination stripper, cutter, crimper. These are dual voice coil subwoofers. Each voice coil is 2 ohms, so I'm going to wire the voice coils on the individual subs in series. To do that, you place this jumper right here between the coils. That's going to convert each subwoofer into a 4 ohm nominal load. Then I'm going to wire the subwoofers in parallel. That's going to give me a 2 ohm load at the amplifier. To learn more about how that works, you can check out the calculator on my website, DIYaudioguy.com. We are almost finished, and the total tool count is at 19. And some of those tools are things you may already have lying around, so you might not have to go out and buy 19 tools to make this. What do you say we see how it sounds? It's nice and clean. I think I can probably turn the gain up a bit to get a little bit more bump out of these subs. To learn how to set your gain, click right here.